Hello, I'm Brett Knowles. This video will take you through a series of best practices around how to drive up engagement, retention, employee performance, quality, and ultimately customer satisfaction. The dilemma in most organizations is there's an ongoing confusion. The employee's dilemma is things like, what am I supposed to do with all the assignments that are dumped on me by my bosses, my coworkers, my subordinates, my customers? How do I figure out which of those I'm supposed to do? And if I can figure out which I'm supposed to do, how do I know which are my priorities and the organization's priorities? From there, I need feedback. I need to know, how am I actually doing against those priorities? And then finally, what can I do to gain the skills and capabilities I need to better do that job? These things are invisible and hard for the employee to self-manage. The boss, on the other hand, has a different set of dilemmas. Typically, what they're wondering is, how well is their team actually performing? Is the team day-to-day working on the right things? And within their team, who needs the boss's help? Some coaching, mentoring, training, whatever it might take. And who has spare capacity and capability that can help other teammates do their jobs better? And then finally, is the strategy for winning the game still correct? What if it were different for organizations? What if we understood what success looked like? What if everyone knew what they're supposed to do and what their priorities were moment to moment? What if everyone could self-check and correct themselves on an ongoing basis? And what if we had the agility to change direction at any time? What if performance was visible and actionable, just like it is in a game? Think of any sport that you've played. In that sport, you always know what you're supposed to do and what your priorities are based on the role that you have. Everyone can self-check. You can see how the team's doing and how you're doing, and make sure on an ongoing basis we're all doing the right thing. You have the agility to change what you're doing at any point in time. So the idea of how we play a game or a sport has a lot of application in the business world. In fact, all the issues I just described as the employee's dilemma and the boss's dilemma are resolved in a gaming environment. It's easy to build a gaming environment in your business. In fact, there's only 4 questions that you need to answer, and I'll promise you, your organization can actually answer these questions quickly and easily. Question number 1, what is the organization's strategic goals and their priorities? From that, how does it cascade down to your team? What are your objectives, and what do you in particular need to do to accomplish those goals? And in fact, we probably want to know, what is our specific role against those objectives? And then finally, what's a reasonable commitment? What can you promise the organization and your teammates that you can get done this period or this quarter? Think of that quarter as being like a game. What can I get done for this game? Now, if you could do that and then package it in an engaging way, and by an engaging way, what we're talking about is applying game mechanics. And there's 2 simple parts to this. Part 1 is in keeping score. Whenever you play a game, there's always some clear rules about how to keep score, and it's easy to determine at any point in time how you're doing. So wouldn't it be interesting if we could allocate points based on what the team does, and in particular the priority of the work they're working on and the progress they make? So moment to moment, you could set a plan for how many points your team can make based on the activities in front of you and the resources you're given. And then week to week, day to day, see how you're progressing against those targets. And then working as a team. What does that look like? Well, right now, if we have difficulties in organizations, typically there's a one-on-one conversation between you and your boss. But what if, like in a team, it was a team conversation? What if everyone could see how you were performing and how they were performing, and you could have ongoing game conversations like players have on the sidelines or in between plays? And then, what if at the end of a period, end of the half, end of the quarter, you have the opportunity to talk about what the targets are, what the strategy is, what adjustments, take some coaching, maybe adjust the teams, again, just like a sports team does. We do those two things and interesting things happen. What interesting things? Well, we begin making the invisible visible. And as Daniel Pink talks about in his book Drive, we begin to define what you and your team's purpose is. By making those objectives clear and priorities, it enables you to master those activities. And therefore, with the scorekeeping in place, provides you and your team with the autonomy to get it done. So, now let's take a look at some software that enables these concepts called MyObjectives.